Welcome back to At the Asterisk War Anime Review, episode number 6, discussing the last 3 episodes of the anime which adapt the 6th book of the series. Well, from what I can tell, basically how they adapted the book, they did a pretty decent job. They did cut out like one character who did appear in the book, and she doesn't appear in the anime for these episodes for some reason. I don't know why. They also cut out a scene where they visit Saya's parents. That would be interesting to see in the anime, but nope. But mostly put, basically, here are the episodes, basically. Now, winter break is coming up, and of course, Jules think okay, have basically invite Ayato and the girls with her to go to her home country. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, this sounds very familiar. The female lead of the series inviting basically the guy she's got a thing for to a place for like a good weekend or whatever. Yeah, it sounds it's a very similar plot thread from Freezing. Yes, the only difference is that this woman's brother is not known for basically abusing her or doing whatever. Yeah, her brother's actually a pretty decent guy. Though, for being a king, he doesn't dress like a king that I've seen. Normally, kings I've seen in any anime I've seen generally dress very formally. Here, he's very casual. And a lot of the time, he spends a lot of time sleeping and doesn't take much interest in politics. And he does appear in all 3 episodes. Now, this character is from the books, definitely. From what I can tell, they did a pretty good job with the character. Now, I also love this particular scene. Now, they introduce basically Ayato to, of course, the brother and the sister-in-law, which they apparently refer to as sort of an airhead. Now, they did cut out some interactions between Jules and her sister-in-law, because they did interact a few times in the actual book itself. In the anime, I don't think there's barely interaction with them. It's kind of strange that they cut out any interaction between these 2 characters, which was quite interesting in the actual book itself. As a matter of fact, she referred to Maria, that's actually her brother's wife, and she refers to as sister-in-law. In the episodes, I don't think she speaks a word to her at all the whole time. Of course, she explains about our country's history, and of course we also have this wonderful dinner party where, of course, they're going to have possibly a dance. And I thought this was so neat, the fact that basically both Karen and Saya really wanted to dance with him. And I love the fact that he commented all the girls. Yeah, Claudia's here as well. Basically, it's Jules, Claudia, Io, Saya, and Karen. And when Ayato sees their dresses, he basically says, "You ladies look absolutely so beautiful," which that was so nice of him to do. Claudia, in case you're curious though, in these episodes, she doesn't do very much. Yeah, she does very little. Because that's kind of the weakness of basically this character when it comes to season 2. Like in the first season, she has a pretty good role in season 1. This season, it's kind of like, wow, we just basically reduce her to basically not appearing very much in the actual episodes. Yeah, I think that when it comes to adaptation-wise, I think she got the most cuts of basically screen time. Because she is a good character. I like the character. It's just that she doesn't really do a lot in these episodes. Also, Jules' brother does have a brief conversation with Ayato and Jules. Like, the first thing he asks, like, "Hey, would you like Jules' hand in marriage?" And Jules is like, "What? What did you do that for?" And he's like, from what I can tell, he does not refuse the offer. It's that he's just not currently interested in the moment to do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does, because after all, it's very heavily implied that Jules has got a thing for him. As a matter of fact, all the girls do. Well, except for Irene and Priscilla. Those are the only 2 I could think of who don't have any feelings for him, but they treat him like really good friends. So, and of course, to talk about the Jeff's Festival, which of course Claudia does invite everybody at the end of episode 24. We'll talk about that. So at the end of episode 22, we have where Ayato, Karen, and Saya are attacked by a terrorist. Yes, one guy. This mysterious old man named Graves. He attacks him with a chimera. Yes, a freaking chimera. And it takes basically Ayato and Saya to basically kill the damn thing, though also cause some damage to the Axe Garden itself. And apparently, Jules' brother has no problem with the fact that this damage was caused. Normally, he would be yelling at him for basically causing damage, but he's not written to be stupid. Yeah, he's a bit of an idiot, but he's not stupid. He's not oblivious exactly what's going on. I mean, he knows this was not Ayato's fault, which I do appreciate the fact he's written that way. Which, that's always really good. That's a sign of, to me, that's a sign of good writing on the part for the anime to keep that part in for him. So, eventually, of course, after the whole parent offer to marry Jules, she storms off. She goes off to the orphanage. Yep. Also, I should point out for continue, there's a character who does appear in the book, and yet she doesn't appear in the end of the episodes. Sylvia. Yeah, she plays a small role in the book, and yet in the episodes, she does make an appearance. As a matter of fact, she plays a role in help saving Ayato in the book itself, and yet in the anime, she's nowhere to be seen. Don't know why she was cut for. It's kind of strange. It's kind of like basically cutting the little conversation of, hey, you know her? Yeah, I didn't recognize her first, and of course, well, you know exactly who he is. Yeah, I don't really understand why they cut that off for. It's almost like anything related to Sylvia. It's just basically very much minimal at best. I mean, I would say the stuff she appeared in for episodes 18 and 19 is pretty accurate. And of course, well, in 20, her brief scene. Though I would have basically liked a little more screen time for her. Because I think she's a good character. But they didn't do much with the character at all. She appears roughly in 3 episodes. She appears 18, 19, and 21. And that's it. That's all you see of Sylvia. Yep. So, and of course, go to the orphanage. See the orphanage basically that was first mentioned back in the pilot episode, which I was really nice the anime keep this in. Meet the nuns, the kids. Also, the maid who would basically Ayato rescue, basically Karen and Saya rescued in the previous episodes, which I thought was really good. They brought her in here. Of course, well, then of course, let's see. I'm trying to think what happened. Oh yeah, basically we have a very brief interaction between Jules and her former childhood friend, who's become sort of a poison. Yep, a poison. Yeah, she's basically dealt with. She's not defeated per se. She does fight Ayato and Jules for like 1 episode, and then like, oh, here comes the terrorist. Like, okay, bye, go back. And of course, she is mentioned basically her backstory in the following episode. But yeah, it's like this particular episode, they cut a bit too much. They good chunk of the story here. That's fine, but I think there was still a little more story here they could have kept in. But my guess is because, and this is my personal theory, I think because of the limited amount of episodes they were given, that's the reason why that these episodes got let's just say, shafted in a way, in the form of adaptation. Because I think in the case of these episodes, they received the most amount of cuts in the series, basically when it comes to interactions and basically characters. Like a whole character was written out here for like no reason at all. But I gotta say, the stuff they did show, it's pretty accurate to the action book itself. I gotta praise that. So, the greenhouse, and of course, well, right after the green, where basically I think her name is Ophelia. Yeah, Ophelia. Where, and they reveal why she basically became what basically Karen is, sort of a stigmata. Yeah, the reason why she did it, because apparently she was handed off to be experimented on to pay off the debts of the orphanage. Though, thanks to Jules and Ayato reading the Festa, the orphanage was saved. And apparently, get this, her brother had no problem with her running off to the orphanage. Yeah, he supported it. He had no problem with her basically interacting with kids her age. Which, yeah, I'm sure her father might have had a slight problem with it. But their kids around her age. I mean, her father doesn't appear in the series at all for a good reason. Her father's dead. Yeah, from what I heard, yeah, he really is dead. So, they usually show the orphanage a bit later, where it's basically used as bait to draw out. Well, first basically we have after of course Ophelia leaves, Graves comes back and summons a Hydra. Not Hydra yet. I'll get to that. Summons Cerberus and another creature, which of course Ayato defeats one of them pretty easily. The Cerberus he tries to fight, but he's trying to make Jules at the same time. But look up, Claudia shows up, takes out the Chimera, and lucky enough, of course, she does know who the terrorist is. Like, oh, you didn't know me? But apparently, he doesn't know her name, but probably does recognize her because she's similar to someone else he probably knows. Then, of course, he sort of gets knocked out for 3 days. Yep. So, he wakes up, and who's in his bed? Why, it's Karen and Saya. And no, these two did not have sex with him. No. That's a lot of people probably think, oh yeah, a guy with two beautiful women in his bed. Did they have sex? No, they just slept on top of his bed. That's simply what happened. And I'm a little surprised he didn't basically, when they woke up, was like he didn't pat him on the head like he normally would, as a thank you for basically staying by his side. So, and of course, they have Graves also cause more destruction to the city, just to lure out Ayato and Jules. And then he summons a freaking Hydra. Even Ayato points, hey, is that a Hydra? He's like, yep, that's Hydra. And thanks to Saya and, of course, Jules, these three are able to take on this Hydra and win. Graves, of course, is actually captured. Yes, he's actually captured by Karen really easily. And he's hauled off into custody. Though he doesn't see, I don't think he appears in the books. Nothing I can think of. I haven't read book 7 yet. So, then, of course, Claudia meets up with her father, who I should point out that was voiced by Kyle Herbert. Yes, I didn't expect to see him in the series, but okay. They talk briefly about potentially somehow galaxies involved, basically with the attempted assassination. But she does agree. Now he does tell her he does love her, which one can tell. Yeah, she can easily tell he's not lying about that, but he does agree with his methods that he does, but she does love her father. So, then of course, then we have Ayato saying goodbye to Jules' brother. I forgot the guy's name. So, let me look up basically his name here. Because he appears in episode 22. His name is Jobert. Yeah, that's his name, Jobert. Yeah. Didn't expect to see him in this series, but it's always great to hear Kyle Herbert's voice. Then, of course, we get the call from the chairman. It's like, oh yeah, we found your sister. Even though we already found her 3 episodes back. She's in a coma, and apparently she's been in a coma for 5 years. And, of course, we also have basically Magnum Opus trying to help. Of course, she volunteers to help him to get her out of the coma. And, of course, everybody volunteers to join Claudia's team for the Gebs Festival. And then, of course, we have sort of a possible, what looks like to be during the ending credits, looks like a tease for a potential season 3. Like showing off, apparently, Ayato with Sylvia. We have Team Claudia training. We all see briefly Mules, I think her name is. Yeah, she appears briefly in book 7. Yeah, she appears in the next book I'm going to read. But this episode is a brief image of her. That's technically her first appearance outside of the light novels, which that's quite interesting to throw her in. Not the first anime I've seen, basically, where they clue a character from a later book and a possible tease at the end of an episode for the final episode what they have for the series. Which, that's interesting. The only series I could think of that did that was on my smartphone. They did the same thing with that one. They included 3 characters as the possibilities for Tatsuma's future wives, or his future fiancés, who didn't really appear in the anime. They appeared later on in the books, which I did later on read the books, basically, that those characters were appearing. So, it's great that we have that tease. So, yeah, that's pretty much the series itself in a nutshell. It's interesting, though, that A1 Pictures decided to sort of shaft Book 6. I would think that if they ever basically brought back the series, I would probably suggest doing sort of a director's cut of the last 3 episodes. I wouldn't say they're terrible per se. I think they're a bit rushed. Not terribly rushed, they're a bit rushed. Yes. I would also basically increase their runtime. I would say with most of the cut, I would say that they should have basically had a special edition of these 3 episodes, just to give basically book 6 more breathing room. Because in the case of the first 5 books, I think they did a pretty decent job when it comes to adapting those books, though they did cut a little bit out of book 5. I would say adaptation-wise, book 6 got the worst when it comes to adaptation, when it comes to cuts. Yeah, I'd say definitely, it definitely feels that way. But I would say that the best thing about the series, not much the writing per se in the case of the final 3 episodes, I would say the best things about the series are the animation, the special effects of the series. The fact that A1 Pictures spent time and money to develop this series is amazing. They did a really good job with it, basically visually. Anyways. Oh, another thing I did aside from director's cut, like I did with ReZero, I think that you could do possibly like an OVA, just sort of much more closer adaptation of Book 6. That, or you could make it to a movie. That would be interesting. A movie. Yeah, adapting Book 6 to a movie. Because Book 6 basically could potentially be an actual movie. I mean, it could in fact basically fix some of the cuts basically they had for the episode. It's possible that, or they could basically sort of a readaptation of these episodes, basically restore all the cut content, because a lot of stuff was cut from what I read online, apparently due to time constraints. Yes, that was the reason why a lot of stuff was cut. Yeah. Though I think they probably should have more than 3 episodes to adapt a 150-page book. I think that they should have had at least 5 episodes to adapt this book, to get everything in, to get a lot of the stuff in the book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But in the case of the series overall, now I've heard rumors of a potential season 3. Some say, "Oh yeah, it's confirmed for next year." I haven't heard anything about it at all. I mean, I would like it. I mean, some say basically some say it could have been potentially come out this year, but due to the pandemic, it's probably postponed next year. It's possible the reason why people thought that a lot of stuff's postponed this year. But would I like to see a season 3 for the show? Yes, definitely. Though I would suggest first basically putting back in the stuff they cut out from the final 3 episodes of the previous season first. Do that, and then you can do... Now, in case you're curious though, is there source material to do with season 3? Yes. If you're curious though, how many books basically are left to be adapted? 9 books. Books 7 through 15. I have one of the books. I have book 7. They could adapt this one. Yeah, from what I can tell, also, now I read the afterword of book 6, is that originally book 6 was going to start the Jepsis Festival, but the writer really, the reason why he postponed it to the next book, which is going to be book 7, the reason he postponed it because he really wanted to explore Jewel's country. I appreciate the fact he did that. He probably did as though it was probably never originally planned for him to do that. I mean, it's kind of like the way it was with the Festa, the Phoenix Festa, where that was extended by 1 book due to the fact that, well, he probably wanted more story to tell with the damn thing. I mean, look at overall, it was basically told in 3 books and adapted for a good chunk of the anime. I'd say about most of it. Yes, I'd say because the fact it started with book 3, which started episode 8, mind you. Yes, episode 8. So it was a little bit random over that one. Mostly it took up a lot of the anime to adapt this 1 book per se. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd definitely say so. Uh, But not much else to say about these episodes. They're good. Now, what series am I going to do next? Trinity 7. But it's not going to start right away because I'm going to finish up Series 11 for Doctor Who and the New Year special first. Then I'll worry about that particular series. Okay? Which I'll watch that series. And it's 2 films. Yeah, it had 2 films. I'll discuss that potentially tomorrow or Wednesday. Okay? See you in the video. Bye.